Oh my God. I am resident of Collinwood for YouTube. I'm Jules Sains. That is my buddy Gordon Dymowski. That's my buddy Alan Gallant. That's my buddy Patrick McCray. We're here to talk the Manchurian Candidate, the original Manchurian Candidate. Now, if you guys do want to talk the remake too and want to throw that in there, that's fine. I've seen both.
No, remake.
So the hell with the remake. But anyway.
Pretty much. I mean, that's what I said when they made it. Even Jonathan Demme couldn't get me excited about that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it does have a very Hollywood cast. I mean, but this does too.
So did the original.
Yeah, so did the original.
Yeah.
Janet Leigh's in this. Obviously, Frank Sinatra's in this.
Henry Silva.
Yeah.
Very good friend of Frank's. That's, I think, why he appeared in several of his films.
Well, he acted later too because he was in movies with Chuck Norris. He was the villain in some.
He was a big '70s and '80s guy too.
Yeah.
He was the villain. He was the villain in Megaforce.
Yeah.
He was coming on like a Megaforce.
Yes.
But Henry Silva made a hell of a heel later. Well, in this movie, and later on too, he did a great job. So here in the Manchurian, we also have Angela Lansbury, who plays the mother from hell, quite literally. This movie has a lot of great symbolism, which I enjoy because I enjoy the Silent Hill games. Those have a lot of fucking symbolism.
Well, you like the percussion section in general.
Yeah, Joel. Yeah. You love the drums and the cymbals and the
triangle. You did a 3-week thing with Bobby Lugosi and Mark Gilman about the triangle in modern movies.
and you said you even once said, and I this is a direct quote, I get a mad on for the xylophone.
It's called an erection, isn't it?
The bones.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Did anybody notice the creep factor in the dream sequences? It's Reggie Nalder, the guy who played Barlow in Salem's Lot. He plays Dimitri.
Oh.
The dude with a really messed up kind of pockmarked face and
that was on his business card.
That was his business card.
The dude with the messed up pockmarked face. Yeah. I had no idea that was Barlow.
Yeah, that's the guy.
You know who's also named Barlow? Dennis Barlow, who I think's the hero of The Loved One.
Yeah.
Anyway, so about that Manchurian Candidate, in just 7 days, I can make you a Manchurian Candidate. They say that in Rocky Horror.
It's true.
So, Joel, but what do you think about the Dark Shadows connection with this? Tim Shaw.
Yeah.
You don't have to wear that dress tonight.
Here's the thing I like about this. The character Shaw, because he's going to be your Medal of Honor winner, right? Medal of Valor.
Whoa! Wait a minute. No, I'm totally serious here. That just occurred to me that the guy who's programmed for the Manchurian Candidate ripoff on Dark Shadows in 1897, who is activated, I think, through Solitaire, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
His last name is Shaw.
Yeah. And
Raymond Shaw actually has the last name Shaw, which a lot of people don't know. And do you think they planned it all the way then when they named him Tim Shaw?
I wouldn't be surprised. And here's why. Go ahead, Gordon.
I was about to say they were probably thinking, okay, we need a way to let, because I think the plot is, it's like, I think it's a signal for Tim Shaw to do something. And I'm sure they probably thought, okay, how do we do it? Well, we saw that movie years ago where they did it with the playing cards. Let's do that.
Well, yeah, even the characters' names are the same.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder, look, here's writers that included borrowed from a great Chicago Bears running back name for a character that we never saw. And they also went in the beginning episodes. Dr. Reeves, I think somebody was a Superman fan, George Reeves. I mean, so it wouldn't shock me.
Julia was originally named Walter the Refrigerator Perry.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, that was Julia's original first name.
Cool.
before.
Yeah, but I think there's like a
That's
typing
why they called
mistake.
it Icebox in the first episode, right? Yeah.
Can you imagine Walter the Refrigerator Perry as Julia Hoffman just in one episode? It's the Carolyn Groves kind of thing. Although I guess she was in 3.
So, I mean, the Dark Shadows writers were used to sort of plucking names from other things, whether it be sports, movies, just in general. Hell, I do that too. So, there was a character I named in a Dark Shadows fanfic called Nick Saban, and I got the name Saban from the former Alabama coach.
Mm-hmm.
So, or sorry, his kid name was Saban Beck. My character was. So I got it from Nick Saban, the Alabama coach. So,
but in this case, with the connection, are you sure?
Oh, no, my character was French. So
is Yves Montand. What was the movie he was in?
Yeah,
with Marilyn
Monroe. I could. It's on the tip of my tongue. Which one was it, Joel?
It's definitely on the tip of your tongue. That's definitely what
It's just like there was a summer where the John Wayne movie Chisholm was on everybody's lips. That's all they could talk about.
Oh my God. So for the Manchurian Candidate, guys, they do have a hell of a backstory here with the hypnosis. I do enjoy both versions of this film. I know you guys don't enjoy the remake, but I do enjoy both versions of the movie and the differences between them too.
I mean, I think if the original had never been made, the new one would be fine. It's just that the original is so good and such a classic. It's kind of like a remake of Casablanca starring David Soul put on television. And who would do that?
Well, Joel would.
Well, NBC did
I'm
also.
Aaron Spelling would do that if somebody gave him the idea.
It's
they did that though. There was a Casablanca TV series in like 1983, starring David Soul.
Yeah.
As Ilsa.
No.
Oh, God. Oh my.
Well, speaking of television, anybody get the Hawaii Five-0 connection to this movie?
Oh Lord.
The dream sequence.
I forget the actor's name, but the bald
Asian
Chinese
guy,
gentleman.
yeah. His name's Key Day.
He was low fat.
Oh, was he like low fat?
On Hawaii Five-0. Yep. He was about. This was made in '62. He got that job in '68. So
he's a good actor. I mean, he's incredible in always with a touch of humor.
Yes, always with a touch of humor. Just before I cut your throat, kind of. I mean, that's the kind of menace the guy had. So that was pretty cool.
So, what did you guys think of the brainwashing scenes in this movie?
It was
tour de forces.
It was, and it was cutting edge stuff at the time too. People knew that this stuff was actually going on, or at least the public had a vague idea that this stuff was going on. The military and the government knew it was going on, and it was height of Cold War stuff, PSYOP stuff and psychological warfare and weaponizing human beings, basically, in that respect.
This is a movie that, in terms of using that, pretty much everything that they do to these guys is something that could be done.
Yes.
And I don't, at the very least, I mean, I'm not an expert in brainwashing. I took a few classes in community college, but that was it. But it's my understanding that, it might actually be enacted somewhat like this. And not internally, we couldn't see what that would be like, but and it gets right what I feel like the movie Get Out gets wrong, because where Get Out really lets me down a little bit is where they've got burning candles, where they're still doing all this surgery, and it's supposed to be a pristine environment, and it turns into this strange kind of semi-occult stuff. And I really think that film would have been it was a strong movie. I think it would have been even stronger if, you had known, or there had been a card that just would have said everything depicted in this film is possible and is based on techniques that various governments have investigated. Yeah. But in this case, it feels very real.
Yeah, it does.
Or very possible.
It's very straightforward. They describe it as a combination of certain things. psychological exercises, drugs, the use of drugs, all sorts of things that have definitely been on the table in terms of that sort of thing. I mean, and we also had MK Ultra, which was top secret at that time, but came out later.
Yeah, Dr. Ewan Cameron
Yeah.
was the mad genius behind that. A really weird figure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gordon?
Yeah, I think it's very telling, because I know when Condon wrote the novel, a lot of it was seen as kind of like out there, if that makes sense. Not in a science fiction way, but like you're taking of course this is ridiculous, but by the time this is released, in the midst of, I think this was released just a few months before the Cuban Missile Crisis, where tensions were high.
Mm-hmm.
This feels a lot more believable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
They did their homework.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
And Kennedy was a big fan of the novel, and he was very excited about the movie, because the other people from the White House were somewhat concerned, and Frank said, I think it'll be okay. And when he told Jack he had bought the rights, Jack's first question was, who's going to play the mother? Which I think is terrific. I mean, that's the ultimate endorsement.
Yeah. Yeah. Interestingly enough, at this point, Angela Lansbury had already had an 18-year career in films. Her first film was Gaslight. She played the maid in Gaslight. Who's
how ironic?
Yes, who's having the affair with the husband. So but she was still only in her 30s at this point in time.
Yeah, she was only a few years older than Lawrence Hervey.
Yes, that's
who played
correct.
her son.
Yep, that was one of the things, and she sold it though. She sold it, put her hair up in that more matronly hairdo, stylish matron's hairdo, and
yet another Dark Shadows connection, because it's kind of like the Naomi Jonathan Frid age difference, which was maybe about 10 years.
10 years,
and that was it. Yeah.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the hypnosis here, or the brainwashing. I love how they switch it to, you see this beautiful hotel, and then you see, oh my God, then you see a room full of military people, Russian and Chinese. Very, very well done by the production company and the film crew, and just the cast in general. They blow this movie out of the water, and I really love the symbolism in this movie. As a Silent Hill fan, the one thing I noticed too about this movie is Lansbury's character, and I think it's Silva's character, who are standing by Abe Lincoln's picture, and it sort of foreshadows what's to come for them. And also, Silva dresses like Lincoln in the movie at the party. Is it? No.
You're thinking James Gregory.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, James Gregory. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wrong person. But James Gregory and Lansbury are standing by the picture of Lincoln, and Gregory's dressed as Lincoln for the party they have for that woman, because she's coming back. She came back from France. I really love that, because it lets you know something's gonna happen to these two.
Yeah, it's foreshadowing.
I got a head full of rocks.
Yeah,
I swear to God, I'm jambalaya north of the eyebrows. This is the first I've seen this movie so many times, and I got to confess my own dunderheadedness here. It just occurred to me, oh yeah, Lincoln was assassinated. That's ironic. It had never occurred to me. I thought he was there as a famous Republican or something. Seriously, this is the first time.
James Gregory is so compelling as somebody who has nothing but SpaghettiOs in his head, and he's a drunk, and he's compelling. You just look at, he's fascinating to watch this guy.
I just buy James Gregory.
Right.
That connection. I've taught the movie. I've taught this damn thing for years, and it's never occurred to me. What what planet am I from?
I don't know, but that's a good addendum for your notes now for
It
next time.
is. No, it really is. And and Alan, I will take your rationalization for me there that I really was just so transfixed by the specificity of this story, it never even occurred to me.
Right.
Well,
Wow.
I think you have to give the director John Frankenheimer a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I think this might have been like only his second or third movie. And he came from live TV where you had to have your shots. One is how he composes shots, but everything has to be precise. And because you know, in his background, if you flubbed, that was it.
Yeah, sure.
He would have been. It would have been cool to see him direct like a couple of episodes of Dark Shadows, but he would have thought it was slumming. But and I think that the way he's kind of got it and the way he sets up movies, there's little room for, I would say, improvisation or the happy accident. Everything that is put there, even if you don't see it, is deliberate. It is precise. It is there to move the story forward.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why you see that picture of Lincoln on the wall, and sometimes you'll see James Gerger, but where you see them in it together, I think Lansbury is sitting down and Gregory comes over, but they pull the camera back, and there's the picture of Lincoln right next.
No, Joel, you're totally right.
Right,
you're totally right. Yeah, I just hadn't seen it.
It's great.
Wow.
And another thing I love too about this, I love how the love for Lawrence Harvey here. Where's the a giant queen of diamonds?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which kind of snaps him out of mommy's hypnosis and transfers it onto the person it should be on, which is the person he loves.
Freud versus Freud.
Right. Yeah, that was an interesting thing. This film could not have been shot in anything but black and white either. I think it was a brilliant, absolute brilliant choice.
And if Jonathan Demme had made his movie and made exactly the same movie he made, but released it in black and white, that would have been the ballsiest tribute.
Right.
That would have been really gutsy.
Yep.
I mean, wow.
Yep.
That would be an interesting film to watch in black and white. What was the other movie I said was good in black and white? Oh, the Dark Shadows pilot. Yeah, the 2004 Dark Shadows pilot.
Yeah.
But this, I think that Manchurian Candidate remake in black and white, I may go back and watch it like that tonight.
Cool. Also, something I like to hear in this movie, I love how the people who brainwashed all these soldiers, they have Lawrence Harvey's character laying in a hospital bed, and the guy's like, we need to test him. We need to test who he could kill. And I'm just like, and the guy's like, you need to laugh. You need to no, he's fine. He's fine. It's like, don't worry about nothing. But then they do test him out.
My wife sends me to department stores with an appalling list.
Yeah, that's basic. But really fun stuff in this movie. What did you guys think of well, I said the brainwashing, but how they test his first kill, I guess.
Well, they do the ultimate test. They test him on somebody he knows, because that's what's going to end up happening eventually. People he's associated with are the people he's going to be whacking. So, yeah, it's like it's bizarre and surreal at the same time. You know what's going to happen, but he comes into the guy's bedroom and he's in his wife's house coat, this thing, and it's just kind of surreal, which it should be. It's horrifying what the intention is. So adding that, if surreal is kind of like, it's frosting on that cake.
It's not only surreal, it's so touchingly humanizes him. Because it's clear this is not a transvestite thing. It's clear that, either he really is cold and it's the warmest thing in the house.
He misses his wife.
Or he misses his wife.
Right.
Because that's what widows and widowers, often do, is they find an article of clothing that still has, the scent of their skin on it, and and that's just and it's so funny because in any other scheme, it would have been some weird drag joke or something like that,
Sure.
but in this case, no, it just makes him this tough guy, just sad, and yet he maintains his dignity.
Yeah.
In it.
Yeah, because he explains it away.
A lot of layers.
Yeah. It is. It's an interesting thing, and then ultimately, as the audience, you already know that he's in for the kill. So it's like, what's happening here? And the way that he's doing it, and the way he's being responded to.
And as the movie progresses, Lawrence Harvey's kills get a little bit more specific and a little bit more brutal, because you have the death of both the senator and his daughter, where I love that scene where it's just you see the milk spout out and he falls,
right,
and then she's at a distance, he shoots her. Then there's a flashback where the mascot is killed, and that's probably the most gruesome. But it's a very simple cut where you hear a bang and then you see something splash against the wall, and you go, which is it's very visceral. And then when you get to the other assassination, even though you don't see gore, you just see that the crosshairs all of a sudden suddenly shift to his parents,
and then she crumples to the ground. Yeah, yeah.
And what an exhilarating moment.
Mm.
It is this moment it's this horrible moment, but it's this moment of real triumph. It's like, oh my God, the bad guy's going to lose.
Right. Yeah, it's a triumph for the audience for sure. It's tragedy for it's tragedy for Frank Sinatra's character. It's tragedy for Raymond. The whole thing, Raymond's tragedy is inexplicable. It's a downhill slide from when he commits his first murders, and when he's being, when he's still in the military and they're brainwashing him, and he strangles one guy and shoots the other guy. The kid, when he shoots the kid, it's like,
Sinatra's monologue at the end of the movie, as brief as it is, really sums it up. That is a war is hell moment, unlike almost any other.
Yeah. It is. And
because these are not soldiers.
No.
Who are the victims.
Right.
They're victims.
Yeah. This is the idea, too, that it has been ever so since probably in particular the Civil War, and that is that civilians are no longer exempt from the horrors of the war either. People get killed, whether it's a Cold War or a hot war or whatever it is, people that are in the way. With Raymond, I think it's inevitable. His end becomes inevitable when he just turns without even thinking and shoots the only person in his life that really meant anything to him, which is, his wife at that point. And then
that's the moment that just still
it's tragic. It's the ultimate tragic moment.
And Tom Jordan is so wonderfully pure as a character. He bleeds white.
Right.
He bleeds. His blood is totally pure, and I love that it's not her, although she is, but even her father, and his political compass is so pure, that because he's the one who just puts the cards on the no pun intended, puts the cards on the table when he says, if you were a Soviet agent, you couldn't be doing more to harm, the cause of anti-communism.
Yeah, it's this film is also a nice final poke in the jugular vein to McCarthyism as well, which had only ended a few years before. And
I get really tired, when you study that period, everything from a peanut butter commercial to a Leave It to Beaver moment is written up as, and of course this was a sly commentary on the McCarthy committee, which is what happens when you piss off writers.
Right.
But it becomes almost its own cliche after a while. I wrote a thing about Inherit the Wind, and I tried to just not pay attention. I mentioned it, but it was like, okay, yeah, everything is. But in this case, this is, not only obviously is it a commentary on that, but it is a necessary and really bold commentary. And hadn't the writer been blacklisted?
I don't
Or
know.
no, it was another movie that Sinatra brought in Dalton Trumbo, I think, to write.
Yes, but Trumbo had finally gotten his due with Spartacus, which was around this time. Just a couple of years before this. So
I am Spartacus.
Yeah, the writer was George Axelrod, and I don't think he's more of a. He had written The 7-Year Itch. I don't see. I've got him up on Wikipedia, and I'm not going to read it because I'm not Jewel. But there's no mention of any there's no mention of any
blacklist or anything.
Yeah, blacklisting.
Yeah.
But
I was thinking of Sinatra brought in Trumbo for something else.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, but I also think it's probably Axelrod probably knew people who were
absolutely
black.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that he may have been one of the few people who was pointing, because at the time, people who weren't blacklisted, a lot of them were often, slighting things, slipping jobs to people, helping them get, I'll pay you to help. Even though my name will be on the script, I'm going to give you half to help write it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that was done a lot. They did tend to, most of them would stick together. And when they didn't, there was usually hell to pay socially.
Just ask Goliath Kazan.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Kazan will always be lauded for his professional career. But yeah, in terms of his naming names and all that shit, his dead body will never live that down. So,
Dennis, you named names.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, even Walter Gibson was accused of being a comics. That's why he went under Maxwell Grant for so many years. So
a lot of that.
No, Joe.
He was accused of it. I didn't say he did.
He may have been, but that's not why he used the pen name.
That's not what I was told.
Well, let's answer this right now, Joel.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So I'm not denying that he was accused of a communist. Everyone. Why? So
almost everyone was in Hollywood in those days. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it was.
I'm listening. I'm just getting something to drink. Well, keep talking. I mean,
Go ahead before I ask a question. Well, I will say this about the movie. I love how they handle the blood effects. It's really good. I do think that's something this movie doesn't get enough credit for. I mean, its cinematography is great. That's number one.
Oh, absolutely. It's great cinematography.
Because I watch, you guys know this, I watch a lot of horror movies. And sometimes with effects, it's like, did you really need to go, I don't mind blood, but there's moments did you really need to go that far to make your point? This movie doesn't try to do that. No. It makes enough of a point with its effects that it does do. And that's what's impressive about it, too.
Yeah. There's also the deaths, there's a kind of a suddenness about them that gives you that off balance effect that sometimes the gore effects seek to do in horror movies.
Yeah, I love how Lawrence Harvey's character too. What really sells this too for me is when he gets orders, how silent he can be when doing it. I mean, he speaks when spoken to, but he's very quiet. He just goes about his job, and then they do program him before he does the senator and his daughter / Lawrence Harvey's character's wife. You have they place her. Well, if somebody's there and witnesses it, he does that person too. That's why she's killed in the movie. Her character, she sees it happen, so that's why he shoots her. They program that in,
right?
And it's to think of that, and I like how the end ends up. Now, did I expect Lawrence Harvey's character to kill him? Yeah, kill him to kill himself. Yeah, I kind of figured that. What did you guys think of the death sequences at the end there?
I think I want to know more about William Gibson having to write his Maxwell Grant.
Okay, so I'm glad you asked because I just finished looking that up. Now, Jewel, do you know when Walter Gibson started writing The Shadow as Maxwell Grant?
I do know that it was the first published was 1931, I believe.
Okay, so there's 20 years between that and presumably when he's accused of communism. So I'm not denying the accused of communism. The reason he wrote under that, he was writing nonfiction. So he figured as he's writing fiction, he chose the names of 2 magic dealers that he knew because Walter Gibson was a magician.
Yeah.
And so he used that as a way to kind of differentiate from his nonfiction.
Because
So unless the
Pokemon
person
hadn't
who
been
told
invented yet.
That's
what,
right.
Pokemon hadn't been invented yet, so they had to be magic.
Oh,
right. So Jewel, unless a person who told you is named John Olson, who I worked with, who is a foremost shadow expert, or pulp historian Will Murray, the person who told you that is a liar.
Okay.
Can I tell you something about Pogs?
Oh, God.
Which kind of pog? P-O-G?
Yeah. There's one.
I
What are you doing? I remember Pogs as a kid. Those were those were like the most suckered for. I was a sucker for those.
They were just milk caps. All they were.
That's all they are. That's all they are. Used to play Magic the Gathering. I enjoyed that, but
You hear Pog, you think sucker.
I think I was a sucker for getting into Pogs. But that's just me.
We've all been.
All right. For a kid, it's forgivable.
Were you
The
someone who could
adults
get
that got
behind
into
Pogs?
pogs, it ought to be lashed.
I was in elementary school when Pogs were a
yeah.
thing. So when you like threw the thing down on top of the Pogs and it was separated.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was in elementary school. What are you?
Did you have square pizza?
Jewel,
Oh,
we want you to look up PAWG.
Oh,
Oh my God! Why? PAWG. Okay, Pog. Okay, Pog. Oh my God! Oh my God!
Not to be confused with POG.
Yeah.
I didn't even mean that. That got thrown in by somebody else.
That got thrown in by me.
Alan, the good one.
That's right.
Oh my God!
Your third
See,
son
that's
has
the
turned
Pog-
on you, Joel.
That's the pogs that I collected back in the 90s, PAWG. So
When did before I ask about Janet Leigh, when did when did Frank Sinatra buy the rights to the novel or the
late 50s, early 60s.
yeah, it must have been right around 1960, a couple of years.
Well, it was a new novel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then after UA's license expired, he bought the rights to the movie.
Right.
Now, I have a question because every time I watch this, I know Janet Leigh is playing Sinatra's character's wife in this. It always feels like at times she's like an agent for the government the way she acts. Am I off on this or what?
I think she's knowledgeable about what he does for a living.
Yeah, she is for sure.
Joel, that's a good observation. I'll tell you, a lot of people have wondered because of that weird conversation about the Chinese laborers and so on.
The train.
That's such a weird, stilted conversation. They kind of wonder if she is Sinatra's operator.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah,
that's not
especially
a
with the
coded-
whole after he calls her, yeah, I had a fiance, but I kissed him on the cheek, told him to and leave.
Yeah.
That felt a little like, what?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's one of the most weird things about it. Like her character's interesting, don't get me wrong. It's like she feels so government in a sense. In every way. Like she works for some, whether it's US, whether she's his handler or what. It's like,
I think you could infer that, but it's also possible that we're talking in a time where when you married a guy in the United States as a woman, you became his domestic partner, you became a spiritual partner, and you pretty much committed yourself to his lifestyle, his work, and all of this sort of thing in many cases, much more so than today when usually you have two independent people going out into the workforce, raising kids together, that sort of thing. Back then, it was a lot of single income. It was male-dominated stuff, and the woman would be, helping the husband with the work. But it's also easy because he's dealing with classified stuff. So maybe she is like also employed by him.
Or you leave a hotel room and all your stuff is in the other room, including your phone and your glasses and stuff like that. And then you can't remember the number of the room.
Yeah.
And it's in the middle of the night. Like that's a model for relationships, and that has challenges also. I'm just saying.
Gordon, what did you think?
Yeah, I kind of thought that I think there's something going on there because it's just that her behavior.
It's a story.
Yeah, it's because to me that the scene on the train where she's talking about how she let go of her fiance, like nobody does that. Usually at that time they would wait till they get to the altar and then realize, oh wait, what the hell am I getting myself into? And then Dustin Hoffman's banging, screaming, Elaine, Elaine.
That could have been an ad for Lexan. What were those windows made of? Even Dustin Hoffman couldn't break them.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of a runt in those days.
By
the way, I think
they bring in an ape and Dick Butkus, and they couldn't break them either.
I think the ape and Dick Butkus, that's what they based the old American Tourist Store commercials on. They'd lock them both in a cage, throw in a suitcase, and see if both of them could bust open the American Tourister, and neither one of them could. It's true, Jewel. Look it up on YouTube.
I believe you.
It was also the title of the children's book I had as a kid, The Ape and Dick Butkus. But I didn't know Butkus. I assumed was a verb.
Right.
Dick Butkus was. I think he was on
a Yiddish term.
He was on 4 episodes of My Two Dads, I believe. Go ahead, Alan.
Go ahead. What am I doing?
You were going to say something. I don't know.
I was going to say that the only living cast member from the major cast anyway, is Leslie Parrish. She's still alive. She's almost 90.
Damn.
She's the one that played his wife. She was the wife.
His wife.
The Raymond Shaw. Yeah, Josie.
Oh yeah. Josie. Yeah. Jocelyn.
Yeah. She saves him from a snake bite in the movie.
That's right. What a payback.
Which that whole sequence manages to be unbelievably chaste and unbelievably erotic at once.
Oh yeah.
And that's another just Frankenheimer thing that he's able to pull off.
It's also the idealistic view of it in his mind too. I mean, there's a layer of that.
Yes. I forget we're looking at an unreliable narrator.
Well, I think it's fairly reliable because of the way she responds to him when they actually meet again. But it is also that sort has that sheen of 1950s, like you say, that chasteness, that idyllic, romantic, right from the beginning. So yeah.
Now, if it reflected the way the dream sequences were, though, or the nightmare, brainwashing sequences, the actor who played Thomas Jordan would have also played Jocelyn in his memory. Would that have been amazing?
Waking up in the cold sweat.
In the bikini.
Oh,
yikes.
Yeah, but it is it is an interesting scene for sure. How she takes off her shirt and she wraps it around his leg to say,
That's the 1950s eroticism right there. Yeah. Taking off that shirt. It's like,
She was saving a life. There was nothing puerile about it.
That's right.
Well, it's a human. What I like about it most, it gives a very realistic human emotion. because you have a woman who has no way to wrap that leg other than her shirt.
Well, that's how you justify it for the trench coats in the front row.
Yeah. Because the original novel, from what I've read, is a little bit more spicy.
Yeah, probably. I would not be surprised.
Not
Is it?
bad. Not bad.
Spicy how?
Some snake bite love making, perhaps, in there somewhere. Yes.
I think
Well, actually, the scene where towards the end, where Angela Lansbury kisses Lawrence Harvey.
Laxing.
Oh yeah, French kissing, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the book, there's a lot more boom chicka wow wow.
Yeah, there's an incestuous subplot
yeah.
on there. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's almost as bad as the Yves Montand Marilyn Monroe. What the name of
Let's
What was
make
that
illegal
title?
love.
I was about to ask Jewel what the title was.
Oh my god! Oh my god! You know
Or it's
what?
like that
It is a
one
lot
song.
like Oedipus.
Eat a puss. You eat a puss.
Oh my God.
Oedipus, as they say in England.
Yes, that's how they do.
You know, a horse is a horse, of course, but no one can talk to a horse, of course, unless, of course, the name of
Except
the horse is
Catherine.
the famous Mr. Oedipus.
That's right.
That's right. Unless it's Catherine the Great.
Ah!
So,
Wilbur.
I love Frank
Jewel,
Sinatra
I'm
in this
sorry.
movie. I really love Lawrence Harvey in this movie. Really great job acting, having to play this killer this person who's hypnotized to kill. I think we've talked about Faster Pussycat Kill Kill Kill. We've talked about
There's only 2 kills in that.
Well, sorry, we talked about The Night of the Hunter. I think those 2 movies, and really this movie too, don't get enough credit for next generation horror in a lot of ways, because Lawrence Harvey really has that serial killer vibe really well down pat here. I know that's not.
It's a psychological study of somebody that is a serial killer, not necessarily in this case by his own volition, but he still is. He's programmed to be that anytime that anybody to use it.
He's the ultimate all-American boy who's clearly from England.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That accent, I think was studied very carefully by Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, it's all those Eastern private schools.
Yeah. Great cast in this movie.
But that adds to the surreality of the movie also.
It does. And it also contributes to the fact he's a pent up, overly formalized, he's stuck inside of himself very much.
Yeah, I was expecting like a toss away line about them being from Boston, just to explain the accent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, she does a really good job of just a touch of the British, which is Middle Atlantic or Transatlantic, which is that prep school, Yale-y type accent that was incredibly popular in that era, like the William F. Buckley stuff. It sort of.
Yeah. You almost expect her to actually like have a sister who lives in Maine who solves mysteries.
Yeah.
And hangs out with the sheriff who looks like Tom Bosley.
Yeah, that's right. Talk about terrible New England accents. Old Tom Bosley. Jesus. We used to dissect that pretty well back in the day.
Guys, I know we're not done with this movie, but I'll give my suggestion when we finish. Because I forgot to ask, when did you guys first see this movie?
It's another television thing for me. I saw it in probably on a Saturday or a Sunday local channel, playing it. Probably in the 70s, maybe the 80s. That would have been the first time that I saw it.
Yeah, I think I first saw it in the late 80s when it was coming back to general release, because I think I saw it at AMC, which at the time was all just movies and obscure movies at that.
Yeah,
I got to see this at
you go ahead.
I got to see this at the Vogue, the legendary Vogue Theater. And I was really lucky because it was during the '88 re-release, and I was already a big Sinatra fan. And you know, it's being a Sinatra fan is kind of a weird thing, especially when he was alive and still in sort of the almost a self perpetuating cliche. It was very much it honestly it was more the Phil Hartman Sinatra and less the Joe Piscopo Sinatra, and it was pretty uncool to be a Frank fan at that point. And so to have this incredibly cool movie spellbind audiences, hipster audiences who came to it, I think ready for, oh good, we're gonna have a big camp fest.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't. I saw it in a packed theater and you couldn't hear a pin drop except for one moment. They got a huge laugh, and that was
Right
when Sinatra rears up for
with
what
Henry
is
Silva.
the first Eastern, for what is the first Eastern martial arts scene in a major studio movie.
Right.
And it was, of course it's funny at first because of the way it's shot, but halfway into it, especially when Sinatra breaks his hand, and you don't know that. I mean, it wasn't like there was a pop-up dialogue or something that said that.
Right.
But there was something so visceral and intense in that moment. It didn't surprise me when I later found out that happened, because Silva was supposed to be here, and he got the fight choreography wrong and was on the opposite side. And Sinatra had to adjust at the last minute, and his hand didn't go through the plywood. It went through wood, which says something about Frank.
Committed
to, because Frank was not a big guy.
And
But
Frank
by God, he went right through
either.
that.
Yeah, he didn't like doing two takes.
No.
He liked doing one take.
In the words
Patrick,
of me,
I have a question for you.
In the words of me, he's got 2 shows in Vegas.
Right.
Yeah.
Quick question. Do you think that Sinatra's fighting style influenced Patrick McGowan's fighting style in The Prisoner with the...
Yeah, those? I hope so.
Why not? Why not?
His wrist must have really hurt.
I got to tell you, though, the open-handed punch is much better than this, because you tend to break your hand.
Oh, sure.
Like that without taping and stuff like that, which is why a lot of that is like that. Yeah. Palm, side
and punch through.
That kind of stuff. Yeah.
You punch to a target past the person.
And then you don't break anything, you hit the right spot. So, yeah, that's the idea behind that. So it does look kind of weird, especially the way they shot it. And also because Frank really wasn't a martial artist. I think Henry Silva had martial art training and probably helped choreograph that bit. But
I wonder if Frank had not paid a check or something, and
maybe
was ticked off. And so I said, "I'm going to be right here, Frank. Don't worry, I'm going to be right here." Oh, I meant over here.
Yeah.
Oops. What are you going to do? Hit me? Not today, Frank. Oh God, you can kick. Jesus.
Really? You brought hands to a foot fight?
Yeah, and afterwards, Frank had some steak and bourbon and a couple of cigarettes, and
out the door.
I had a couple little extra honeys on the side.
Mm-hmm. Back to Palm Springs.
Yeah.
I first saw this movie on HBO. Actually, my mother showed it to me.
It was part of a major re-release. It was a big deal on cable. It was a big deal on VHS.
Yeah.
What did you think?
It was a great movie there's a reason behind it. She showed it to me because somebody was saying about actors, and somebody said about Frank Sinatra being an actor to somebody. And my mother was standing in the range of this conversation, and somebody said, it was a younger person. Somebody said, Frank Sinatra can't act. And my mother said, have you ever seen the Manchurian Candidate? And they said, no. Then why the hell would you give your opinion on Frank Sinatra's acting? And that was the end of the conversation.
Billy Wilder really famously said that if Frank got as serious about his acting as he did about his music,
Yeah.
He said a very politically incorrect thing, but he said he'd make us all look like a bunch of.
Right.
And we get the spirit of it. I don't think
Yeah.
he literally would have
Right.
converted people into a rampage of homosexuality. Although maybe that's what he meant, is that he would have been so desirable that Wilder and all men would drop the illusion of heterosexuality and become francophilic. But then they'd have to go to France.
To get the shot. Yeah.
Don't
Exactly.
let the flower fool you.
Yeah, this movie's a solid 10, guys. What do you guys think?
Oh,
Joel,
absolutely.
I wait. No, you know what's a solid 10? You, Joel Sane, are a solid 10. You bring it home every time, no matter how far off the reservation we go. You're out there on the horse, roping it in and bringing it back. Yes, it's a solid 10.
It is. Guys, for tomorrow, I have a suggestion.
Okay.
It's on Tubi. Let's review the Solomon Kane movie.
Yes.
I've never seen it, so yeah. Let's.
I'll
I've
send
heard. I haven't seen it, but I've heard good things about it.
I'll send it to you guys in a group.
Okay.
So tomorrow night at 10:30, we're going to review. I've seen it. It's a great fucking film. James Porford should come back as Solomon Kane if they ever do a sequel. So we'll review this tomorrow. So tomorrow night, the movie Solomon Kane. Links in Gordon Dymowski's his Amazon page. Links to Patrick McCray's Dark Shadows Daybook Unbound is going to be in there. And links to Alan Gallant's YouTube channel, Collins Port After Dark. And
Joel, if they don't go to these links, the communists win.
They do.
Yes.
if they don't, if they
And
don't,
it's your job as an American to visit those links below.
yes, if you don't go to those links, we will send Gordon Dymowski to your house, and he may be having a Queen of Diamonds in his hand. Anyway,
And by Gordon Dymowski, Joel means he'll show up and he'll eat all your potato salad, and you don't want that.
Oh my God! Good night, guys. Have a good one.
Take care, Joel. Thank you.